Welcome to the Aura Evolution Podcast, a sacred place for you to return home to your soul. I'm Helen Yeplan, founder of Helen Creates Beauty and the author of the Aura Color Wheel. This podcast is a sanctuary from soul discovery to soul mastery. Each week, we explore aura wisdom, spirit connection, and energy tools to help you embody your light and live your soul's purpose with clarity, joy, and fulfillment. Take a deep breath. Welcome home.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Aura Evolution Podcast. I'm your host, Helen Yeplan, and this podcast is live every Monday at 10 a.m. Pacific time. Now, if you catch us for the first time, I'm the founder of Helen Creates Beauty and the author of the Aura Color Wheel. It's a unique soul discovery system to help you really understand your soul's purpose through your unique soul aura color. I work with spiritual seekers, creatives, and entrepreneurs to reclaim their inner radiance and connect with their spirit team so that they can channel their full spectrum of light into purpose and beautiful soul expressions. Now, today we have a very special guest because literally she was a student in Embody Her Light and become and certified Aura Color Wheel Practitioner. So I'm very, very excited to bring her on today for some interview questions. Now, if you are tuning with me live on YouTube, Instagram, or Facebook, you're welcome to ask any questions to the topics that we are discussing today. And if you are listening tomorrow on audio, pretty much on all platforms that you can hear podcasts, so you're welcome to leave a comment and please rate the podcast as well. So it keeps us going. So that way we can also answer your questions over there in the comment section. So this podcast is available every Tuesday on all audio platforms. Okay, so just want to share a very exciting news with all of you. So some of you might have already tuned in live last Friday. I got an live aura reading for all the anchors, all the news anchors on Good Day LA. It was such a fun experience. Now, in case you missed the live, I also, Good Day LA Fox 11 website also have the recording. I'm going to put the link in the comment. You can grab the link and watch the interview as well as my live aura reading on the anchors. It was really, really fun. So after the this interview episode, actually I got a lot of requests for the cosmic blueprint reading and spirit message reading. So those are the two really in-depth reading. The cosmic blueprint reading is a very in-depth reading to understand your soul's purpose, combining 8 spiritual wisdoms. I'm also going to post a link here on the comment. If you're interested in doing such a reading, you're welcome to grab it. There's a lot of people ask about how they can do a reading with me. Those are pretty much the two options right now. One is the cosmic blueprint reading and the other is a spirit message reading where I tune in to the quantum and see who are your spirit guides and what messages they have for you. Now, lastly, we are having the monthly membership Aura Evolution Sanctuary. We're going to meet on June 4th or 5th, 4th. I think that's the Thursday, the first Thursday of the month. And right now I'm still running the first month free for the membership. So it's a companion for you or ongoing support for you to embody your soul's purpose using the Aura Color Wheel system. So grab the link. I hope to see you inside the sanctuary. Okay, without further ado, I'm going to introduce you my lovely guest today. So Jennie is an Aura Color Wheel practitioner and a soul evolution guide. She combined her yoga teaching with the Aura Color Wheel practices in addition to integrating her own channel insight. She guides people through religious woundings, utilizing Christ consciousness as a frequency rather than a religion. So I am very happy to bring in Jennie. with me. Yay! How are you doing, Jennie?
I am fantastic and so excited and thankful to be here. So
yeah,
yay.
Thank you so much for joining me. Yeah, it's such a joy to see the transformation through, working with you since last year, I think, right? You kind of came into my world. You mentioned through like a Facebook ad that there is a like a masterclass. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
So you did the masterclass and you joined the Radiant Aura Activation course. And then later on, I think last year, I have the Embody Your Light course enrollment, and that signature course only opens once a year. And you felt like you want to get deeper, and that's why you enroll in Embody Your Light. Is that right? Like how you came into this work?
Yeah, I feel like I did the Radiant Aura Activation course, and then through the meditations, because I was doing them all the time, I just started seeing light codes. And then I went to New York, and it was on my 30th birthday. I went on an airplane, which now I associate with kind of like a lot of spiritual, like almost initiations. And I think it was on your podcast that I learned that just like about doing psychic surgery on planes, or it was in the course.
Yes, we talk about it both. And also when we're in the airplanes, we're kind of high up, like if you have a lot of star sea regions, like meaning that you have a lot of lifetimes in the other planets, actually it's easier for you to connect the the celestial body, like your higher beings, or that lineage, with the stars. So I'm glad you mentioned that. I think we talk about it in the either in the podcast during one of my interviews or in the Embody Your Light course.
Yeah.
Okay. So
and then I felt like I had to do it right after that. So that's when I learned about it. It was like right after my birthday, and I was like, I'm gonna do this.
Awesome. I love that. I love that synchronicity. Then okay, so let us know, what is your soul aura color now, and where did you begin to take the course, and where you are right now? Bring us to your journey.
Yeah, so I guess I'll start at the beginning, but was a jade aura color when I first entered into Embody Your Light, which is the healer archetype. And then I've dabbled in, I've taken it a few times kind of when I've noticed shifts. So I have noticed it go to lime, which is the entrepreneur. And then but I took it, and it was kind of like only like briefly like dabbled in that kind of while I was healing as well, which is makes sense, which is what like where I'm stepping into in my life. But we decided also in Embody Your Light that I wanted to heal into an entertainer, and I took it today and was a chartreuse, which is an entertainer archetype. So yeah.
That's so beautiful. So I'm just going to explain or dissect a little bit what Jennie just shared, because it's a beautiful journey. Because in the Aura Color Wheel system, as our soul evolves, we are going to embody different soul gift archetypes, right? And she mentioned that at the beginning, when she first took the soul aura color quiz, she was born with a J, or healer soul gift archetype. So the soul wound is in the red aura layer. And that's the healer soul gift archetype. And later on, she, I think during the course, the Radiant Aura Activation course or the Embody Your Light, you wanted to build your own business also. That's why you kind of rising up to the entrepreneur soul gift archetype. That's also interesting, because it really reflects of what you're trying to do. Like your energy doesn't lie almost, right? And then later on, during Embody Your Light, we discuss about, what we want to manifest in our life. And I think I also talk about this in one of the episodes. It's like how to really embody your purpose, and through this evolution to manifest what you desire. And you need to know, like, one thing you mentioned is definitely about, public speaking, teaching. That's what you want to guide, your own audience. And at the same time, you also want to attract a soulmate, right? And then I mentioned that based on those two aspects, entertainer is like, whoever wants to attract soulmates, entertainer is the archetype to switch into, because it requires your heart chakra to be open, as well as your inner child, like your sacral chakra, to be healed. So those are the two strong aura layers. And then now today, this morning, actually, Jennie was sharing that she actually just finished taking the quiz. And literally, she had the chartreuse or soul aura color. And that's the entertainer archetype. Still, red aura layer is the soul wound or the weaker aura layer. Because it seems like you all stay in the green spectrum. Your heart chakra is definitely open and strong, because it's like from jade to lime green, right? It's like the green spectrum. And then chartreuse green is the yellow green type of spectrum. Does that resonate, or how does it help you to kind of know what your soul aura color is, what you're shape-shifting into in your journey, in your soul growth journey?
Yeah, I think that it helps also just because of where the wounding kind of is and where the lessons are, and just knowing that I have to work on different things to evolve into that. So I was just doing that like deep sacral work, because I was like, oh, like if I am going to attract a soulmate, like these are the things that I truly need to work on the most. So having awareness, and then also like wanting to be on stage and do podcasts and do stuff like this and actually speak confidently all around in all areas of my life was just something I wanted to do. And knowing that, like, I don't know, be mindful of the gap is one of my favorite things, is like, this is where you are, this is where you want to be, but how do you get there? And having that awareness and using the aura color wheel and knowing how to nourish those centers and work through them allows you to not be lost in the journey, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, that totally. Just like through like personally witness the transformation from where you enroll to where you are now. It's already huge in terms of the radiance of your aura, to be honest. How do you use the aura color wheel practices in your life, or in the program of the Embody Your Light program, and how do they transform you?
I feel like it's about integrating and just like finding like what works for me. I definitely love crystals. And once I learned about crystal geometry, I feel like I learned more about crystal geometry and sacred geometry like through the course. And through that, I kind of dove deep into just different rabbit holes. So I feel like there were just like different things that I learned a lot, because I love all of that. And I have my crystal grids, and I love using the different crystals also just for manifesting. And then also with water, I think that I learned so much about how water just is like, we are 70% water, and crystals can integrate and create a coherence with our energy field and help us radiate with manifestations and whatnot. So I think I've done a lot of crystal work more. And then also with geometry, just going into frequency as a whole, and going into quadrivium. I think that we also did a aura reading for the other students in Embody Your Light.
Yes,
and
that's right.
through that, I actually, one of the channeled messages that like my partner got was through the book Quadrivium, and I'm wondering if I have it close, and I ended up getting that book, and then a lot of my channeled insights that I've gotten through Isis about like numbers and geometry and whatnot, and like mostly like 54345, which is kind of like what I've resonated with as the cord cutting current of, this is where you are, you kind of drop down and like fragment your soul a little bit when you like learn your lessons through trauma, and it creates kind of this incoherence. But when you move back up, you heal, you learn the lessons, you regain it, but it also creates a harmony that allows for wisdom to radiate out into the world. So I was able to like use that insight through quadrivium also, which was a synchronicity itself through the course, and then
that's right,
go deeper into things. So I think that all of the things that I also channel and learn, I go back to all of the resources. And now I forget what that original question was. But
yeah, I was just asking how, the aura color wheel, the Embody Your Light, help you to transform your life. And you did mention that there was a practice that I, asked the students to kind of do and reading on each other. and that brought you the synchronicity to kind of piece you with the, the crystal healing, the cord cutting, how you heal your soul wound. You kind of piece them together using that synchronicity or that reading that I pair, you two up to kind of practice. So you mentioned a lot about channeling, and, connecting with our spirit team is one of the big subjects also throughout the whole course. So yeah, so how do you connect with your spirit? Like after you talk about integration is such a important thing. I'm just so proud that you are actually doing the work, like taking the action to actually, embodying it, because learning the knowledge of what type of spirit guides, they are, what energy they are, that's one thing, that's theoretical. But on the other hand, you need to practice that in order to, really channel and get the insight and the wisdom. How do you connect with your spirit guides, and what is the process like to receive guidance from them?
Yeah, so I definitely learned, I will share, like, before Embody Your Light and after, very different. I could now definitely like just identify different energies. And I think one thing that you taught was having a date with your spirit guides. So I do have like little notebooks, and sometimes I just like grab paper or I'll record it because that's what's available and I just have to write it down. But I do have little notebooks for each guide that when I like wake up in the morning and I'm like, I want to have like an actual date with this guide. And then I will, I have a ritual that I do to kind of call in that particular guide through the like highest frequency light. And I have my circle of high loving frequency as a barrier. So yeah, but I will do that. But then also through that, you get to know them. And then when they come into your field, and I can just identify them more easily, even just like numbers, like I'm like, oh, 111, like, hello. And but also just recognizing even where in my body, going like a step deeper and just like, oh, like that's in my solar plexus. Like I need to like tune into like the frequency of like joy or rage. Cause like my guides there are like Sekhmet and Bastet because they're sisters. And I know that if like I step too deeply into kind of anger in one point, like I can use that for sacred information. And that's really, really important because it still guides us, but I can't stay there too long. I have to navigate how to bring myself back to joy. So like recognizing just different color frequencies. Also, I know that like Archangel Michael, he's like a little like blue light that like kind of like streams through, but then Archangel Zadkiel for me appears as like this iridescent snake, and he's like super mischievous. So when I feel like a mischievous energy, I'm like, okay, like there's that. But then I also channel Pegasus, who's really funny and playful and like makes me want to just like gallop, like my shoulders will start like, so my body will even move kind of differently and I'll just get really happy. And it's like giggly, like, all right, get ready. Like something's about to come into your field. Like, get ready to be ready. So, yeah, just taking the time to say like, how are you? Who are you? And I love you. And kind of try to match their frequency as much as possible too.
That's such a beautiful practice that you mentioned, and initiated by, I mentioned about doing a day with your spirit guide, and you actually did it. You know, a lot of people think, oh, that's a great idea, but they never really take the action to take the time to connect with them. But you did that. And during your practice, when you mentioned body movement, you know, it feels like it's very important for you, like embodiment or the movement or the bodily sensation. Can you describe, you know, how that's the importance for you? I know that each of us has different type of, you know, connecting with our spirit team because we have different psychic abilities. But for you, it seems like body movement, feeling, also you describe the feeling, the sensations are very important. Can you guide us deeper into how you do that and why is it important?
Yeah, I think that also our bodies have a lot of just energy in them. And when we move our body, it lets the energy loose and free. But also dancing is like honestly one of the ways that I channel very significantly, because I also I like to let God be the DJ. And I will
I love
put my playlist. Yep, I put my playlist on shuffle, and I say, all right, like, what do you need me to hear today? And then I will listen to it in my car if I like have that time too, or if I'm like, I want guidance on this. Can you give me a song? And like, it usually is pretty accurate. I'll like tune into it. But if I dance to it, there are some songs in particular, and it's not every song, but there are some. I have actually like a playlist in my Spotify. It's called Chills, Synchronicity, Deja Vu. And it's because I know that those songs are going to make like something is coming that's going to make me feel that way.
Mm-hmm.
So if I kind of get that like clear knowing that like this song is important, I'll add it to the playlist and then I'll dance to it and then I'll move through it. And then there are particular lyrics where I'm like, oh, that was the message. And then I'll sit there and I'll like get a different kind of channeled message that I'll journal about. But it's through kind of taking myself out of it. And then like there's different beats. So allowing myself to lose myself in the movement, and especially with dance, even if there's just beats and no lyrics, just moving through it. Sometimes there can be like a lot of ancestral insight that can come through. So there's different like beats and different music that kind of help you connect in different ways as well.
Yeah, when you talk about the beats without lyrics, it reminded me of like drumming, basically like a drumming, and that's very an ancient way of like almost like a revoke or evoke to our ancestors or our connection with them. So that's really rooted in the root chakra. I'm sure you've been working on it for a while, right? So that's
always
exactly. So when you mentioned about dancing to channel the message, I have a couple questions for you. Like, what type of dancing? Is it just free flow, or do you have a specific type of dancing you do? And then second is that after you dance, you channel, you understand who are the guides, and do you ask for messages, or do you do automatic writing? Like after you do a section of this, connection almost with the spirit, what do you do with it afterwards?
Yeah. So there was another question, but now I'm focused on this.
So basically, first question is what type of dance? And the second question is once you receive the guidance or the insight, what do you do?
Perfect. So I usually it's just ecstatic dance mostly. And I do like to listen to the lyrics. So I'll definitely like move, like kind of like tell a story with it, if that makes sense. So that's what I do, but really just tuning into the rhythm and allowing yourself to tell the story. And sometimes like my hands will kind of get really flowy as well. And I'll start to like have little like light code hands that channel through. And that's usually also when that starts, I'll know that like there's a message that's coming through, but it usually comes through kind of while I'm dancing, like, and then I stop listening to the lyrics as much, if that makes sense. And then I'll like channel while I'm dancing and resonate, put the pieces together, and then I will automatically write after, or I will also, I like to make videos after that sometimes too, to kind of like share the wisdom. So I like to post videos of me dancing, and then I'll have like kind of like the insight that I received from that also sometimes.
Okay. So this is actually really beneficial for the audience who are tuning in currently, that we're talking about practices to basically channel your guides' wisdom or receive insights or guidance from your spirit team. And, each of us has a unique way of connecting with our spirit team. And Jennie was explaining her way of connecting or receiving guidance from her guides are listening to music. She has literally created playlists that will put her in that zone, in that flow. And then she will do aesthetic dance. And then, like when something comes in, she might like pause a bit. And then after that, she gets clear of what's going on. She will either do automatic writing or taking video. She literally will take videos of her and remember, almost like the record the process of it. So that's how we don't like lose the wisdom why we're doing it. And this is such a, it's a very embodiment type of practice. So you definitely clear audience. Otherwise, you wouldn't be so, in tune with the frequencies. It sounds like different frequency will bring you about, almost like different guides. And also psychometric. That's another way of basically using your body as a channel. That's another type of psychic abilities. And definitely claircognizance, just like you said that so that's how I put the music in a particular list for me to listen to. So that's really great. Now, Jennie, in this process about evolving your soul or connecting with your spirit guides and fully embody your light, really, what are the things for you that stand most in the way, that you feel like it's really hard for you to express your most authentic self? What's preventing of doing that? So like we're kind of diving a little bit of soul wound and soul lessons, and how do you overcome that? What is the journey for you? What's the big block? How do you kick it out?
I will say control is probably my biggest block, and I hate to admit it, just because I like to just be in control of my surroundings. I like to, and it like really stems from like really wanting to feel safe. If I live alone, if I like know that no one's going to enter my house, and I'm always safe. And so it's definitely just allowing myself to kind of put myself out there a little bit more and like feel safe to put myself out there. I feel like my chakras have like opened up. But if we don't feel safe to express, if we don't feel safe to love, then we're not going to do the thing, even if our heart is really, really open. So I would say that my root chakra and all of that has been my biggest block. And I always will I feel like my spirit guides unfortunately like it when I talk about this, especially until I'm through it. But cigarettes are the biggest thing I would say for me that has been a block. And I think that also really is what I've dove deep into, is really a fear of really allowing myself to radiate. I don't crave like my like cigarette or any addiction really for anyone. So the cigarettes, I don't crave them as much if I am angry or upset. I feel like I could move through and cope through that a lot better than when I'm like, oh wow, I just did something really big, and now I feel like I have to like retract and come back into my shell where I'm safe and know exactly what's going to come. So I would say that all kind of goes hand in hand. But also being vulnerable and sharing it, speaking it, especially kind of like on a broader spectrum, dissolves the shame around it when we talk about it and speak those things. The shame dissolves, and you also remind others too that you're not in it alone, and it gives others a permission to say, oh, like it's okay to still be navigating these like deep worldly things that a lot of people do navigate with, and still have a deep relationship with Source, and also be on a spiritual journey. And it doesn't have to be mutually exclusive.
That's absolutely beautiful. No one is perfect. We're just walking this journey, and everyone has our own wounding and things that we need to work through. And thank you so much for authentically or vulnerably sharing what you just shared. Because you mentioned like control, you recognize that that's a root chakra, feeling safe and secure, that I am, okay in this environment, as well as any type of addiction, especially it's oral, like some clients and students that I work with have eating disorders, right? Like they use food as a comfort, or cigarette, it's a different form of it. Or even if you're alcoholic, drinking, anything that's about that, it's a form of inner child, trauma that we are dealing with. And that really, it's like, do not place shame or judgment around it, because it's like, it depends on how our upbringing is, right? Everyone brought up a different way. So that's something that is almost our adult self is trying to cope with that child self that haven't gotten the proper love or care that we deserve, when we are a child. And recognizing, and it's so beautifully said, Jennie, like recognizing this and being able to voice this out, even in public, that's already a big step of the transformation. Like a lot of us, do you agree? It's like a lot of us are not even aware of it, or even doesn't even want to admit it. Being able to admit it even to yourself or to the public is even more courageous act. It's the beginning of any self-healing and self-transformation work. So that was like absolutely beautiful said. And you mentioned about like vulnerability. It's a key, right? To then when we are able to express our authentic self. Can you talk about a little bit of that? Like what really helped you to be able to like talk about this now that you are not able to voice it before?
Yeah, I think that recognizing that there's also, I'm not the only person that struggles with it. And if I feel like with vulnerability, I feel like the things that we find the hardest to share, that we find so much shame in or kind of shame ourselves for, are actually the things that people connect most deeply with us through, because they're also the things that people are so afraid to speak, so afraid to share. And when you allow yourself to kind of be that person to speak it, then it changes things. I think that also I had a public speaking event in March, and I was talking about cord cutting through Andromeda as like a Greek mythology. And I shared a lot of my story about how I was stalked and harassed by a gym that I tried to leave just because of harassment in general, and had to change my phone number, and was also SA'd by my stepbrother, and just had to kind of move through all of those, and spoke about how it's also a result of generational silence. And how kind of not just suppressing my voice and suppressing it so deeply. And obviously having a fight or flight response is different than suppressing your voice, or I guess freeze response. But it's all suppressed energy that you kind of don't know how to move through your body. So I spoke about all of those things through breaking free of the generational silence. And I actually had someone at the end of the session say, like, raise your hand and say, I was afraid of public speaking and I'm not anymore. And it really just, it gives people permission to say, oh, like, if I hold everything in silence, it's literally just silence. It's just pent up energy that's stuck in there. And we are humans that need to create, and that energy can either live in us as shame, or it can live in us as a form of creation. And how can you transmute that energy and not deny that it exists, and not deny how severe it is, but also say, oh, wow, that is some serious hurt. That is some serious like crap. How amazing is this going to be if it turns into art?
That's absolutely beautiful. Yeah, absolutely beautiful. You're talking about the alchemizing, basically like the paying into gift is literally what the Aura Color Wheel is about. Alchemizing your wounds and your lessons, but into the light, right? And that requires a lot of self-acceptance and compassion as well, right? Like to be able to be okay with who I was and who I would be. And that's such a good point, knowing that you're not on this journey alone. And that's exactly why I created the Aura Evolution Sanctuary membership, so that people can evolve together, that knowing that you're not the only person suffering in this deep soul wound, right? just like when I was sharing my ancestor trauma, my mother wounds, and how I heal this journey, I think the Irvine Soul Search Enlightenment Expo, like what you did in your, in your public talk, it's the same thing. You resonate with a lot of the women sitting there, is like nodding their head. And I'm like, yeah, we might be the first to speak this out, but we are definitely not alone in this journey. By being almost like an example or the light that give others permission to share theirs as well. It's not like you are the only one on this journey. And that's also what Embody Your Light does. I think, like, for the course, the cohort, like everyone, we share vulnerably what's going on. It's like, yeah, we have a unique expression of our wound, but if there is something, just like I mentioned, if we do not have any wounds, we wouldn't be incarnated as human beings this lifetime. We'll probably stay in the spirit realm, right? So that was like a big thing. So that's what actually it's Embody Your Light all about. Like, why we are embodying our light, we offers others the permission to do so as well. So it's like, it's scary, but I'm doing it, so let's do this together.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then it's less scary.
Exactly. And then it's not scary. Yeah, definitely. So what you mentioned about cord cutting as one of the practices that you incorporate in your life from Embody Your Light quite a bit. Guide us through, like, what do you do for cord cutting? Why is it so important, in your spiritual growth? And what do you do it now with the cord cutting practice? Yeah.
So with cord cutting, it really is like awareness of your own patterns. So I feel like overall, when like you look at the Aura Color Wheel framework, like there's just a lot of just like cord cutting woven through it, because you're just breaking free of all of that. Because I was meditating on that, I was like, what does like, how do like, because it all incorporates. So when I do ceremonies, because I do host ceremonies, I have cacao in them, and then my bangs are being weird. But I have cacao and then Palo Santo, and then I create a container for everyone. And then we do kind of a little opening with channeled messages for the group. And then we move through, it's really similar to the inner child healing meditation, kind of mixed with cord cutting meditation, and then also Ho'oponopono kind of woven through. So you're going into these experiences, you are encountering these versions of yourself that your spirit team is guiding you to, and then offering the wisdom to that version of yourself is, I would say, the most important part of all of it. And then the angels and the guides kind of do the rest with like energetically moving everything through. And then they come out and do automatic writing for really just what the wisdom from their spirit team has given them, what wisdom they offered to that version of themselves. And then we all come around in community, because I am just so big on vulnerability and even going through kind of like the Gnostic texts of like, the first book of Pistis Sophia, I was like, oh, like this is cord cutting, like where she's speaking like to this group, like this is what it was. And people are repeating back to her, I understand that this is how life has affected you. And like being reminded that you're still lovable. And like essentially like doing that also in community also. And then we have a fire release. So we go through just like writing what we want to release, and then we put that in the fire and kind of share like just the honor of releasing it back to source. And then so that's like kind of my favorite part of it, but really just going into the generational aspects of your entire essence. And there's different aspects. So I've gone through a whole month where I was just like forgiving it masculine in my life. And I had like the Ho'oponopono on a repeat. And I was just like, I was like kind of just visualizing like different men who I just had to forgive if I needed to release all of that just resentment and hurt in my heart if I was actually going to move forward in my life. So, and like there were some people that I had to say it Like they got 3 whole meditations, just them. Like, Ho'oponopono.
Yes.
But it takes the work. You can't just sometimes say it once. So yeah, but Ho'oponopono, and I feel like that's a life changer if you do nothing else, I think, with cord cutting, just because it really is like just saying thank you to being able to learn a lesson itself, even if you don't fully understand the lesson yet, just helps clear the resentment. And it really is just like clearing everything out so you can be you, just because also when we talk about channeling, if we have all of this resentment and negative energy stored up in here, I think I was doing it was the pineal gland meditation.
Pineal gland, with Archangel Haniel, yes.
Yeah, and you I noticed where my fear was, and it usually is in my left hip, but I did it again, and I had so much fear in my heart, and I did the activation just because I was like, why haven't I been seeing? I was like, I was so good at seeing visions, and like, where did they go? And I did that, and it was because I was afraid of seeing a potential outcome again that didn't work out, because that's really hard when you're like, oh, like remembering that your visions kind of are a potential, and that if everything aligns up perfectly, then that is a potential outcome. But also we do have work to continue doing and like stay authentic, and also remember that other people are also sovereign beings who have free choice. So even if that's a potential outcome, that doesn't mean it's going to happen. So that was a hard heart lesson that I learned around seeing things, and shut down my channel a little bit because of it.
Yeah. So wow, there's a lot of depth of what you just shared. So basically through the cord cutting practice, we talk about Ho'oponopono, because when that's one of the physical way of doing it. It's basically forgiving all the foreign energy that's still attached on you, that does not belong to you, no matter it's people who you thought they had done wrong to you. In essence, it's very similar to the loving kindness meditation or the prayer that I do on a daily basis. It's basically you're forgiving everything and let them out of your field. Because sometimes when energies that are attached to our auric field that does not belong to us, or when we're leaking energy to other or fragment pieces in other places, other people, or other memories, it's like our personal energy is kind of leaking. You were describing a process of like kind of like calling your power back at the same time. Yes, you're forgiving and letting go on one side, and on the other side, it's kind of you have all these, once the core is clear, cut, and then more energy or more personal power is coming back to you. And that really helps to open up the channel, as you mentioned, because when all the aura layers are kind of clear and aligned, that's when you signal to the universe of that particular version of you that want to manifest. And it's completely okay that you don't interject with other people. When Jennie was mentioning, because everybody is so one being, while you're healing your personal energetic field, other people doesn't need to know it, right? They don't need to know whether, you forgive them, you're releasing them and all that. You're doing the work on your end. And that's really, really powerful. And now, because you see the benefit of how much it helps you, and you even guide these ceremonies to offer that to communities, to do the same thing, same process. And I just kind of want to illustrate, how important that is. Now, during this process, you mentioned about a few times about meditation. Meditation seems like an important practice, throughout your spiritual journey. Can you, talk a little bit about, I always emphasize the importance of meditation, because you mentioned about field meditation that you do incorporating with the cord cutting. So talk a little bit about that, the importance of meditation. And I'm also curious about, those ceremonies that you need, because now you feel it so deeply, it helps you so much. So you become, the heart center leader, almost like the heart center leader for others doing the same process, do you see any transformation from others doing it, like the cord cutting? So basically 2 questions. Meditation, the role of meditation in this spiritual growth journey of yours. The second is the transformation of all these ceremonies that you lead for your students and clients. Do you see any transformations in them?
Yeah, so meditation is so important. I think that like that was, yeah, even in your course, you said, if you do nothing else, like make sure you meditate every day. And it's so true. And doing multiple meditations if I can, like, honestly, if I could meditate for 2 hours every day, I could have a great day. But not every day is like that. But on the days that I'm like, oh, it's 7:00 and I'm going to meditate for like an hour and then journal before bed. And instead of just doing kind of one little meditation before bed. So definitely making the time to kind of expand. I think that there's even a lot of like people who come in like into my ceremonies and I teach meditation too. They're like, oh, I'm not good at meditation. I'm like, it's a practice though. And I'm not always good at meditation either. And the days that I'm not good at meditating, those are the days that I actually need to meditate the most, to kind of bring everything back into center and actually be in the present moment, because it just clears everything. Yeah, so I do. There was another question. Oh, in the
so like,
in the ceremonies.
So in the ceremonies. Yeah.
And yeah, so I think that also with meditations, like sometimes I will get visions, sometimes I won't get visions. Sometimes my mind's really cluttered. Sometimes it's not cluttered at all. So also recognizing that different days are different. Just sneaking that in there. And then with the ceremonies, I would say, yes, there are people who come kind of very regularly. And then there are people who like just kind of come because they want to experience a cord cutting for a particular event. And either way, totally welcome. But there's one person in particular that like she also goes to therapy, which I also love. And she'll go to her therapist and like be talking through something, and her therapist will just say, when's the last time you went to one of those cord cutting ceremonies? And I always say that things kind of unfold over 2 to 3 weeks. And she'll always say, oh, about 3 weeks ago. And it's like, like, so like even her therapist is starting to like just really believe in the work and like being able to navigate different like just things differently. And like, honestly, the biggest shift is things just don't affect them like they used to. It's like, wow, like just like looking at a situation and saying, wow, like if someone did this to me a month ago, I would have had a completely different reaction. But actually, like, you know what? I'm just going to walk away and I'm going to do this differently. And instead of like, oh, like this guy said something to me, like, I'm gonna try harder to make it work. Instead of, oh, like I'm gonna take that as like this just isn't aligned for me, and I'm gonna walk away in peace and not be. And now I'm talking more about myself, and not be all like about it. I'm just gonna walk away.
Let others influence your energy anymore. It's almost that power back to yourself. It's very similar to what you described. It's like it's your personal experience because you see the benefit of it. That's why you offer it to the community, and I absolutely love that. And you mentioned, like during our conversation, you mentioned different pieces that you pick up from the Aura Color Wheel system and the Embody Your Light course, like cord cutting, meditation, connecting with your spirit team, knowing where you are and what are the gaps that you need to heal, as a roadmap. How would you say, like kind of in a summary, that what is the what really these help you on a daily basis, like the Aura Color Wheel system, at your soul's growth journey, and what inspired you to become the Aura Color Wheel practitioner? Tell us about that.
Yeah, it's so funny. I was talking to one of my friends the other day, and it's not the first time I've heard this, like in the past couple of months, that someone has said, oh, wow, over the last year and a half, you are completely different. And It's true. I think that really like the biggest thing that like set me into the Aura Color Wheel was like, and I mentioned it before, but there was an entire gym that was stalking and harassing me. And I got home security systems. I was filing police reports and hiding in my house and just trying to stay safe. But then I also looked at it and I said, okay, I'm really scared, and I either like something has to change because I can't just I just can't hide in my apartment forever. So what within me can I change, and how can I really shift my own life so this also never happens again? Because also just feeling like my voice didn't matter, feeling like I wasn't safe to speak up, and that really wasn't even safe to leave, was just like replicating and kind of validating itself in physical reality. And for me, it really was a boundary issue of just like, I am staying in situations where my intuition is screaming no. And it was also kind of an ego issue, if I'm being entirely honest, where it's like my intuition is screaming no, but like something like this happened before and I'm just acting out of fear, and I just have to prove to myself that like I'm stronger than this. And really I don't. I think that I just had to learn to myself, like, I do not have to prove to anyone anything, and I don't need a reason to walk away. If my intuition says no, I'll understand later and not engage in this. I'm not going to remain in this situation that doesn't make sense to me. So I think that through learning all of that, and then also just reclaiming my voice around actually like just speaking out about like my own trauma, where I held it in for 5 years in silence because there was just so much shame. So there were just like aspects of like my own like things that honestly, like I was in therapy for like 15 years and then wasn't in therapy while I did this program, but also like the amount that I was actually able to like speak. And if I did this while I was in therapy probably would have been so much like it all probably would have been just like so much more expedited in my growth, because I like there were things that I was even afraid to tell my therapist. And like I feel like that's also like not something that's like crazy uncommon, because once we speak it, then it becomes more real for us, and then we have to start addressing it. And then I did EMDR therapy, so I did finally tell her before the Aura Color Wheel with like my traumas and whatnot. But once I did, and then I found the Aura Color Wheel, it really just transformed how much I was able to actually recognize was in my energy field, that I was also just afraid to even go there.
Yeah, so it's like the fear and boundary issues, and also not being able to speak up, to now accepting that's part of your journey and being able to face them head on and take actions around it. That's like a huge, leap. No wonder I'm like, is this the Jennie 3.0 coming in?
I mean, I did just evolve.
Yeah, exactly. That's absolutely beautiful. And I can see it's even brighter future ahead, as you keep evolving, as you're stepping into this entertainer soul gift archetype. And you mentioned about, you also help or guide others, through like if they have any religious wounding, and Christ consciousness is important for you as a frequency. And I remember you also have a program, using that technology to help us, for their own soul growth. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So embodied union was actually something that I kind of started working on before I did Embody Your Light. And then I was like, this really just like transformed everything and just how I teach. So that makes sense that like it really like developed kind of after I finished Embody Your Light. But really with Christ consciousness, I also worked with Be the Phoenix, because we also met her through the program.
Yes.
And really dove into the Sophia code in that current as well. So I really started recognizing, I was like, oh, Christ conscious, like Christ isn't a last name. It's a frequency, and it moved through Jesus. And I think that I also like in my own dark night of the soul, like I had all of this like dark energy around me, and I was like, what do I do? And I just like prayed to Jesus, and I was like, help me. And then I saw a chalice, an ankh, and like the sign of Vesta and a golden light, and then Jesus's name saying, my child, you know better. And it took me so long to recognize that it was like this hero with 1,000 faces. And our human brains need names because they're like, they need to call things.
Yeah.
Like they just like need that association, but also like they carry a particular frequency. So it doesn't even matter if you like believe it was a person or this or that, like there's still Kuan Yin who carries the frequency of unconditional self-compassion. And that energy itself can be called unconditional self-compassion, or it can be called Kuan Yin. And like that unconditional like love, like that moved through Jesus, like I also see that as like soul contracts too, of like, this is a person that came here to walk and show us how to kind of like even like laying on hands is in the Bible, crystals are in the Bible, like all of these energy healing practices are all like biblical. So when we take kind of the dogma out of it and we just say, okay, like what is my experience if I connect to this particular energy? And like, what do I actually experience? And if it's unconditional love, then it moves through. So, and also it's kind of like that rainbow aura of all of our guides radiate at a particular color frequency also, which creates the rainbow. So when you have the rainbow aura, like you talk about kind of evolving into, that really is opening the channel for all of your spirit guides to kind of be connected to at any particular time. So the guides that we connect with radiate at that frequency that also moved through Jesus. And it's not about worshiping any other being. It's about saying, hey, like that moved through that person. Like, and this also the same source energy that thought, this is my favorite thing to say now, it's like the same source energy that thought that Yeshua needed to exist and also a cockroach needed to exist, also thought you needed to exist. And it's recognizing like, yes, you are like the same frequency, the same source energy radiating out through, but like we also have to recognize that it moves through everybody and it moves through cockroaches. So in Embodied Union, I really move through teaching different guides as like through the different chakra layers. So I teach my guides through my different chakra layers, the ones that I know well. And then I also just teach a lot about the subtle body wisdom. You get yoga practices, meditations, and different sound frequencies as well. And I also teach a lot of just bioenergetic grounding. So it's a framework that's anchor, clarify, receive, and integrate. So it's kind of what I formulated through, and it's about grounding, clearing your field, knowing your own energy, understanding your energy and when it does shift. And then you clarify. That's a lot of the cord cutting, clearing your channel. And that's when you also kind of reclaim your gifts. Like I've had people in cord cutting sessions that just start seeing light codes, and I'm like, yes, like your field is clearing, and then you start receiving, and then you have the integration tools. So yeah, I will drop the link in the comment for that as well.
Awesome. Yeah. I just want to ask then, how do people enroll, or is it this teaching live, or is it a particular time, or is it evergreen?
Yeah. So right now I have a container. So it's a 12-week container, and it does launch. We take like a month off in between. So the next container does launch on August 8th. So you still have a
portal.
Yes. I try to have my dates kind of in alignment with that. And then if you can't make that one, the next one is going to be on January 2nd. It might be the first for the launch date, just so it's 1/1. But yeah,
awesome.
So
yeah, why don't you drop the link in the comments section so people can grab it. And I'm also want to make sure that I will put it in the show notes as well. So and that way you can go check it out.
Yeah, and it's live calls, so 12 weeks, and then you get all the modules. So you get your practices, and then we do live calls every week, and then 5 one-on-one calls too. For I know that with this round, I have one girl that's doing, she wants to create her own course and step into that. So I am actually, she's moving through my course, breaking through her wounds and lessons, but then I'm also like in the process, like helping her kind of navigate her own soul purpose and how to integrate that more fully. So it really is like, you can come in with an idea of like, I want to do this and I want to heal into a version of myself that can do that, can build that course, like can step into that. And if I have the tools and resources also to help you like create that, I will use those one-on-one calls if you choose and want that to do that.
That's beautiful. That's a lot of value for transformation. And it's such a joy to see the transformation within these 18 months, as you mentioned, Jennie, from coming in, learning the Aura Color Wheel, Embody Your Light course, as well as all the synchronicity that you receive, from your guides up to this point. That transformation journey from that fear and, not having the personal power to have the boundary or self-expression to completely being able to speak up your own truth and helping others to do the same. It's like a huge transformation. And I can't wait to see how your soul keep evolving and guiding others to do the same as well. Now, this is exactly the ripple effect that we talk about, in the Aura Color Wheel system. That's why, you become the Aura Color Wheel practitioner. It's not about, one of my soul's mission, I tell people, is really to help 1 million souls to awaken to their soul's purpose with joy and fulfillment. It doesn't mean that I have to teach, personally 1 million souls. But if like I can teach, 5 people, and that 5 people would teach another 5 more people, it's like already, multiply the effect, it's like, then it's another 25, then it's another 625. That's when the ripple comes in. So if you're feeling the nudge of, coming in and doing this work with us, it's definitely like, come join us, join Jen's course, join me in Embody Your Light or the Sanctuary membership, because that means that we're not walking this path alone. We're walking as a union, literally. And do not forget that we are one in the quantum field. So Jennie, what you describe as like that same consciousness, no matter it's in a cockroach or in an animal or in a plant or in us, it's the same. It's that one, source consciousness that you are literally divine. So if we remember that, there is no separation. There is like literally we are one. And also I always start my talk saying that if we meet this lifetime and we have an interaction, no matter you just sit here with us this 1 hour or, we never meet later, even this just one encounter, it might take a few lifetimes that we had already spent before this particular lifetime. So nothing is random. That's why we notice these synchronicities and, things happen and repeat until you really come back to your soul's purpose again. Right, Jennie?
Yep. Yeah. Make it louder too.
So I would definitely make sure that I'm going to show your website also on the show notes. And if you can also have this link to post it on the Instagram comment as well, because Instagram doesn't, so yeah, not on the StreamYard platform. But anyway, so anybody who, are watching us live or, having any questions while you listen to the audio tomorrow, please leave it on the comment. We will answer them. And thank you so much, Jennie, for being a guest on the Aura Evolution podcast. And I just want to tell the audience, so next Monday, the 25th, I'm going to take a week of break. In the US is the Memorial Day, and I probably will have a traveling plan with my family members. And then I will see you back on, I think that will be the first week of June, right? Yeah, I'm looking at June 1st. Actually, that's a Monday. And the June 4th will be our membership gathering. So I hope to see you in the Aura Evolution Sanctuary. And also, if you have already purchased the Aura Color Wheel book, I'm hosting my live Q&A and spirit message reading for the Aura Color Wheel Circle this Thursday. So this Thursday at 10:45 a.m. Pacific time. I'm trying to see the date. This Thursday, the 28th. Okay. All right. Thank you, Jennie, again. And thank everyone for tuning us with us live. And I will see you in a couple weeks Monday. Okay. Bye-bye.
Thank you.